Welcome to Haunted Homemaking. It's Halloween, the spookiest day of the year. I have a bunch of pumpkins that need to be baked, carved, pureed. I also have a very special guest coming later. So let's get started. My guest tonight is Sleepy Hollow's finest monster. So I'm going to sketch a classic scary face for my jack-o'-lantern. Now we all know how to carve a pumpkin, or at the least bit know the basics, but I would like to share some tips that will hopefully make your pumpkin carving a little bit easier. I'm using the water-based marker that usually comes with those pumpkin carving kits. I've also used a dry erase marker, and I think as long as whatever you're using to sketch that face can come off easily with either rubbing alcohol or water, you'll have a much more neat looking jack-o'-lantern at the end. You'll want to carve the hole at the top large enough to fit your hand through and scoop out all the inside. I really like using the saw that comes with the carving kits because of how much they bend and they can maneuver all the curves we'll be cutting out. But be careful with those hands. Or not. I could use a few. To take my time and scooping as much as I can to get those seeds and stringy bits out. I recommend using a spoon and scooping with firm pressure. That way, carving the face will be much easier and save me a little more time when getting those details in. Make a pumpkin pie, and for the filling I like to use my own pumpkin puree. I find that these sugar pumpkins are the best at doing so because they have a more pumpkin-y flavor as opposed to these larger pumpkins that you would use to carve your jack-o'-lantern. I would not recommend these. These will taste bland. And saying that, let's get started on that pumpkin pie. Here's the pumpkin puree I made the other day. Very easy to make. I roasted my small pumpkin and then used a food processor to get it to my desired texture. I'm using 2 egg yolks, which is optional for this recipe, but I like a more firm and custardy texture for the filling, so this will add some of that bulk along with the condensed milk. Along with cinnamon, I like to add pumpkin spice powder to make up for that quintessential fall flavor. And just mix all that thoroughly and pour into your pie dish. I pre-made the dough yesterday. Very easy to make your own pie dough. It definitely makes a difference. But feel free to use store-bought or even a graham cracker crust. Like the pumpkin I carved, I think I'm going to keep going with the classic scary face for the top of this pie. Now, pumpkin pies don't need a top crust, but I thought this face would be a creepy little addition to this classic fall dessert.
Now that looks spooky.
Because of the shapes I cut out of this dough, I was having trouble wrapping it around my rolling pin to transfer. Eventually I got it, but make sure to flour your rolling pin or dough so it doesn't stick. I used a 9-inch dark pie pan, but feel free to use a see-through glass dish for those of you that like to watch. So I just finished making the pumpkin pie. I went ahead and brushed an egg wash over the entire crust so that it can get nice and golden. I'm going to now bake at 350 for about 30 to 35 minutes. I have a very special guest. He is going to arrive very soon to pick up his new head. But first, I think it's time for word of the day.
Is it time? Yes, it is. Word of the day. Word of the day. Is it time? Yes, it is. Word of the day.
With Oz and Jackie.
Hello, welcome to Word of the Day. Today's word of the day is boogeyman. Hey Jackie, can you tell us what that means?
Boogeyman, boogeyman, boogeyman. Ah, an imaginary evil spirit or being used to frighten children.
Just like the sick man. He takes away naughty kids and he puts them in his sack and then he eats them for dinner.
That's very scary.
Oh, that is very scary, Jackie.
Just like Bloody Mary.
What? Bloody Mary's not real, Bobby G?
No, I turned on the faucet and I turned out the lights and I said her name twice and she never appeared.
Ah, I guess that is like the boogeyman, huh? Would you guys be afraid if she really did show up?
I would probably scream because that is very scary.
Ah, someone's coming.
Where? Oh no, the boogeyman is here.
Nah, I think that's our guest for tonight.
So with the rest of the pumpkin puree, I figured I would make a pumpkin bread loaf. I used to make them all the time for my husband when he still had a mouth.
It's the thought that counts.
I missed the way my home would smell when I would make them, and it's been a while, so I thought I'd show you how. The trick to a nice, moist pumpkin loaf is the amount of oil, which can scare some people, but it's not too far off from a box recipe. And the plus is, even when refrigerated, your baked goods will stay moist because of the oil compared to a butter-based recipe. But unfortunately, from my experience, this tip doesn't work on cookies, but give it a try with some cakes and breads. I'm not a fan of sweets that are too sweet for me, so I added 1 cup of sugar in this recipe. But feel free to add up to 2 cups for this one. Don't forget the cinnamon and pumpkin spice, and the baking soda to help the rise, and anything else you need to cast that spell. Now we're going to pour our pumpkin-y mixture into a well-greased loaf pan. Make sure that loaf pan is well greased, guys, and do not overfill it like I did. And now we bake at 350 for about an hour. Thank you for joining us on a very pumpkin-y haunted homemaking. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go feed my carnivorous, man-eating plants. And they don't eat pumpkin bread.